Hi, I'm Cori, and this is my new series, Debunking Travel Myths with Cori. And for this edition, we are going to talk about accessible travel. For those of you who might be watching my video and don't know who I am, brief introduction. My name is Corrine. I go by Cori, and I am a travel advisor who specializes in luxury and destination wedding and honeymoon travel. So, what I do is I work as your personal travel concierge and plan all the amazing things that you could do for your getaway. And it leaves like the stress to me and not to you. So, what we're going to talk about is accessible travel. And the reason we're going to talk about this is because it's near and dear to my heart. Um, I am in Texas, and I have a autoimmune disease. So what that means is I have mobility issues and have trouble walking, basically for any sort of distance. Um, my autoimmune disease is has actually had me out of work from corporate America, and I have really tried to highlight that even those with limited mobility, we can get out there and enjoy travel just as much as able-bodied individuals. So recently, I went on two vacation, well, training slash vacations. Not really vacations because I'm actually there to get you content and kind of tell you, as your travel expert, what you should expect and highlight all things that the supplier will have to offer for you. In the month of March, I was actually in Orlando and I visited two theme parks, and these are the theme parks that we're going to highlight today. I also went this month in April. I embarked on a princess cruise out of Galveston, and I was on the Ruby Princess for 5 nights. So let's go ahead and talk about accessible travel. Okay, I'm going to begin this with a couple of caveats on the blog that I have on my website at curatedescapesbycorrine.com. It's there, right there. See, curatedescapesbycorrine.com. And the caveats for this are: one, I only visited two parks in Orlando. If you've ever been to Orlando or Central Florida, you know it is a theme park capital of the world. So on this visit in March, I actually only visited Universal Studios Orlando, and then I extended my trip to Walt Disney World, and I was staying at Pop Century. So that is the first caveat. The second caveat is because I knew that I was going to be walking so much on this trip, I pre-booked my electric vehicle, like my little scooter. I went through a preferred supplier, and I actually pre-booked that for the week, just to ensure that I had that in order to get around the grounds, because as many of you know who have visited, they are vast. And finally, I am, excuse me, didn't mean to cough in your ear. I am not confined to a piece of mobility equipment. So with my autoimmune disease, I have mobility issues, but I am able to walk for short periods of time, walk and stand. And so I have that as a caveat for my trip. So let's go ahead and start with those in mind. And what I would say is, as a individual with mobility limitations, for my opinion, is that Disney parks and Universal did a relatively great job with accommodations for me as I was in my ECV. with Disney actually scoring a little bit higher. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give Disney 8.5, 8.5, 9, with Universal closer, pulling into like a 7.5, 8. And let me tell you why. So, as I said, for Disney, it was very, very positive. Um, for the most part, you are able to utilize your electric scooter, electric wheelchair, or if you have a manual wheelchair, you're able to use that in any of the queues. And so, what that means is previously, I actually utilized the Disney Dash Pass for my mobility issues, but in order to provide access for individuals that might not be able to actually handle the weight, either from a not necessarily mobility issue, but some other form of mobility, or I'm sorry, disability, then they're trying to not limit, but get a handle on who utilizes the DAS Pass. So this was the first time that I was not able to get a DAS Pass. And what I actually went through the busiest time of the year. This was during spring break. So the week of the busiest spring break of the year, not Easter week, but middle of March. And wait times were easily an hour plus at most of the main attractions. So what I did was I was able to go in the queue on my scooter and wait in line while sitting, and so for the majority of the rides. Disney did have a couple of rides that required you to go to see a cast member that is at the Lightning Lane entrance, and because of their, I guess, their queue, the line, they will have you submit your name, and then they'll give you a time back that is similar to the standby lane to come back and get on the attraction. I actually utilized that for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad and also for Jungle Cruise, so that was very nice. What I will say, and where I had some issues, was a couple of the queues actually do not have that feature to come back for for a wait time, and I was told to transfer to a manual wheelchair, and that from my ECV. That is very difficult for somebody who has a chronic illness like I do. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and then I also have some other autoimmune diseases that we're kind of going through. But my hands are actually doing really good right now. But at the time, I was in gloves and I could barely use my hands. So this was for Pirates of the Caribbean, and it was a 55-minute wait. And I was a solo traveler at that time. My daughter did not join me that morning. So, needless to say, it was very difficult. At some parts of the queue, there is actually an up incline, and doing that is not very easy for somebody who has severe arthritis, and with their hands, my hands being the worst. So that is something that I would say, if you have issues and you cannot uh, handle a manual wheelchair, be prepared to either have somebody go with you and help you through the queue, or I would recommend, if the wait is long, then you just probably, I personally, with my arthritis, would skip that ride. It's one of my favorites, if not the favorite, but it was very painful. Okay, let's go on to Universal. So Universal is obviously known for its thrilling rides and attractions, and I love it because of, I'm a big Harry Potter fan, and love the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I was there for a training, and my daughter went with me. So I had help. Universal does what Disney did on Pirates of the Caribbean. So I had my scooter, and that was with me to maneuver through the parks. But in queue, you actually had to transfer to a wheelchair provided by Universal. And my 15-year-old daughter actually had to help me through the queue. And some of them were, like I said, at an incline. And so for that, I would say if you are unable to maneuver a manual wheelchair, Universal just might be a little bit more difficult if you have mobility issues to access the rides. For both parks, I will say their dining and restaurants were very accommodating. Universal and Disney, I was able to take my ECV into the restaurants with me, and they had reserved tables that were available for wheelchair access. So I would 100% say that they provided amazing service from a dining experience. But the highlight of my trip and the highlight of my service, I would say, is with the transportation. This was my first trip that I actually used the ECV, and so I ECV for the scooter for the entire trip. And I had never maneuvered a scooter on the bus or the Skyliner, monorail, nothing on either parks. So what I encountered was amazing staff on the transportation side that not only would help me get into the bus, up the ramps, secured into the bus. Excuse me. I need a drink. I got a Sonic. Cherry limeade. So they would get me into the bus, lock me in, because I wasn't skilled in doing that. And they would also help me get off the bus. Same as the Skyline, same for the Skyliner and for the monorail. I can't say enough about the transportation staff. They were the best, and just very helpful. And I could go on and on about that service. One thing that I will recommend if you are going to the parks for Disney, I did not see this for Universal, but I could have missed it. But Disney has their park guides, and this really helped me as well. You'll see here it has a park guide for guests with disabilities, and within the guide, it tells you exactly like what it's a color coded system, and what rides would be would be better than others for your disability. They have mobility, visual, hearing, service animals, and then it shows the entire park with that color coded system for the rides. I found this very, very helpful. Even though I have my Disney experience, this paper map was very, very useful to me since it was my first time using a scooter the entire trip. Okay, so what I'll also say is from a resort standpoint, I did not ask for an accessible room. I stayed at Universal Dockside Inn and Suites, and I was in their family suite, which has a bedroom and then a separate area with 2 beds. And my scooter was able to fit very nicely in said suite, so I did not have any issues. Also, I stayed at Pop Century, and for that, I had my mother actually came for an impromptu visit, and she met my daughter and I for Disney. And since we had to use both beds, the scooter did not fit in a standard room. But Disney is very good about offering outlets. So right outside the front door of my hotel room were two outlets, and you saw many guests actually securing their scooters for the evening, recharging them outside the front door, and it was ready to go in the morning. So I had no issues. Also, both the resorts at Universal and at Disney, Universal received my scooter prior to my arrival, and it was held because I actually got in very late. My flight was delayed, so they held my scooter in luggage. And then on my departure day, the scooter company was going to pick that up later in the evening, and Disney also held my scooter. So that was very helpful. All right. So all in all, I will say that it is possible. I know some people. I know I was, and for me, I now, because of my mobility issues, I am a little more cautious of where and what I will do on vacation. Because when I'm on vacation, I want to enjoy my time and be stress free and not necessarily have to worry about will I be able to get around or not. And I was able to enjoy my trip, be not die from well, I say not die, but not be overexerted, and which can cause severe response from my body by walking and having issues throughout the parks. So I will say that if you have mobility issues and you are wondering if you can enjoy the theme parks in Orlando, it is possible. My caveat there would be to work with a travel advisor that specializes or understands your specific accessibility needs. I have some understanding on mobility needs, and then even in our agency, we have agents that are certified for autism travel and other pieces. So look for a travel advisor that can help you with what you specifically need for your vacation. All right. If you would like to schedule some time or talk to me about this particular video on theme park accessible travel, or if you want to talk about another particular accessible travel or luxury travel or honeymoon, give me a call. My number is 512-815-2927, or you can reach me at curatedescapesbycorrine.com and schedule an appointment, and we'll set some time up to discuss all your travel needs. Until then, I will say basically what I always say: life is short, book the trip.